Today we're talking about AI for Restylers, and this is 10 practical ways to use AI in sales, service operations, and marketing. This is really more of an education first thing. We want this to be practical, and it's meant to give especially shop owners, although we have manufacturers and some other suppliers on the call too, but we want to really focus more on the shop owners today with real ideas that they can actually use. That being said, we do have a manufacturer here as well today, which I'm excited to introduce here in a second, so that he can show you some different things we're doing. And we are all in this AI world together. First up, who we have on the panel and is next, but our goal is to help Restylers specifically leave with several practical ideas so that you can try today rather than theory. And there's a lot of stuff online that's all theory, or it's just buzz, or it's hypotheticals. And we were trying to do something a little bit more real, but we'll talk a little bit about the changes too. Today we have myself, I'm going to be your MC. I'm the founder of AutoStyle Marketing. We are growth partners for aftermarket automotive installers and Restylers. And then my right-hand man, Noah Rhodes, here he also has a background at Microsoft, but he's our GM. Say hi, Noah. Make sure you're audio. Great. Thank you, Noah. And then Grant Evans from Ecological. He's representing our manufacturer side. Ecological, by the way, because it's cool. He taught me to say that, and I will remember that forever now. He was on our podcast a couple weeks back there, and he has a whole different way of using it for operational workflows and things. He'll share a little bit later. Say hi, Grant.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you for being here, man. And then Nick Stanley, he's the Chief Marketing Officer, Automotive Concepts, as well as several other businesses. And he's working in the real shop side of this and that perspective. So if you would say hello, Nick, I'd love it.
Hey, everybody.
Awesome. Glad everybody's audio is working. Really cool. Okay, great. Now in the chat, just to test, I'm going to test you all. If you have been wondering about AI and you think AI is something you need to learn or want to, just in the chat, AI in the chat, and we'll chat, make sure that's still working too. If you that AI is something you want to use or you've been told you have to use it, just type in AI in the chat for me. Anybody? Yes. Okay, now they're flooding in. Thank you, Josh. Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bob Cook Sales. I know who that is. That's great. Okay, cool. Let's just get right into it now. I'm going to first show just a little reminder of what you really want to be thinking about and what we hope that you take away today. And Ralph, I'm sorry about the lag. Hopefully I won't lag too many times. And worst case scenario, we are recording it. Thank you, Kevin. Awesome. We want to represent a simpler way to think about AI for your business. Okay, we want to give you some practical ideas that you can test today or this week or have your team test for you. Okay, we want to have a better sense of where AI can save time, improve communication, support your growth, and a clear first step you can try this week. I'm a big believer in this. I've been doing webinars for years, and I used to talk with 300 slides for 4 hours, and people would be like, that was great information, then they would do nothing. So it's important to think about, like, this is not really a trends talk. We want to be at working session, give you ideas, and then have you take something and go try it. Okay. And so we'll use some practical cases. We'll get some theory in there too. And we want to help Restylers specifically. So that's the goal here. But before I dive into the first couple ideas, Grant, Nick, or Noah, do you guys have anything you want to add just on the overall big picture of AI and using it on a daily basis? Anything you guys want to add?
So something I'd like to know from the group here is, maybe you can put this in the chat as well, but like on a scale of 1 being you have opened up ChatGPT or Gemini before to you're an expert, like 1 to 4, 4 being you're an expert, like where do you feel like you're at?
That's a great question.
Okay, so most people kind of like dipping their toes in, like
Thanks too.
Most people just kind of dipping their toes in and getting started. Okay. That's
Great
good to have that baseline.
Yeah, that's a good question. Dipping your toes. That's a good place to start. How about you, Nick or Noah? Anything before we dive in?
Yeah, I just want to say the things that I'll show today are very easy to get started with. We're not going too deep on this first round. Jesse mentioned, depending on the success of this meeting, we'll see if we dive deeper. But I want to give you guys a couple tools today that you can test today or tomorrow and really start using the tool immediately with very little effort. So that's what my plan is today.
Perfect.
And I'm hoping to give you guys concepts and ideas overviews over the top of things, just to make sure that we're all going in the same direction about these things.
Absolutely. That leads me to talking about what most shops are getting wrong. We see a lot of experience. So a lot of owners, business owners, they think that it has to be complicated before it can be useful. In other words, oh, we need to go hire like a full-time person right now, today, to start doing AI like crazy. And that's not true. Or we have to get really expensive software and go through a complete reevaluation of our entire business. That's not true. Or they're chasing tools before identifying a repeat problem worth solving. So really what you want to do is think of a problem that you want to solve, something that's bugging you, and then, or something that you feel, man, I repeatedly do this all the time. I wonder if we could automate it. That's the first question. And then you can figure out what tool matches it, rather than saying, oh, fancy new gimmicks and tool. Like, I can't tell you how many times I sign up for something for only $50 a month. And before you know it, you got $2,000 worth of $50 a month, right? So people are chasing these tools and the shiny objects. Another mistake is that they assume full automation is the goal from day one, instead of just better supporting for people and process. What that means is your people, it's not like we're trying to get rid of our entire workforce. There may be some people that are redundant, true, but the reality is people should be made better, and you should get more output from your people by having them learn and use AI. That is the goal. It doesn't eliminate a job. It just makes them better, more efficient, and produce more. That's my philosophy. And then another mistake is they're overlooking simple wins, like simple things like better communication or standard operating procedures, or capturing knowledge that you have years and years of decades. Some of you have decades of knowledge that you could be recording and turning into something that is like a knowledge base for your team and for your company, or just basic things like follow-up, which I'm going to talk about at the end. That's what we think right now. And we just hope that instead of asking what AI tool should I buy, you should ask, where are we repeating work or losing time or answering the same questions over and over again? That's a great place to start. It's very logical, and that's how you can get AI to start creeping in a good, positive way, right? Okay, here's the first couple ideas. And idea one, these are all related to sales and customer communication. I'm just going to throw them out there, and then I'm going to turn it to my panel to maybe add some ideas. And the first one is very obvious. Most of us are already doing it. If not, look into drafting faster replies to leads. Okay, or this is for your web, your text, quote, requests. This is your emails. Many of you have seen now, like in Google or Gmail, where it is pre-writing an email for you. That same type of thing can be done in many areas in your company. And if you train it, you can actually give it a smart answer instead of a stupid answer. And later, Nick's going to show you an example of a review response like that. Another idea is to organize estimates or intake types of information from photos and notes and messages before a human even bothers to respond. There are ways to do that on a website. There's ways to do that from emails. Another idea is to summarize what the customer actually wants, so nothing important gets missed. So customers talking on the phone, they say certain things that can get recorded and transcribed, that could get added to a list somewhere to help with the sales and marketing team. So this kind of thing, and I'm just generalizing it first, but just to lay the groundwork, this type of thing can make it basically faster response. And faster response means more booked work. And then a cleaner intake process reduces the back and forth and the internal confusion. And it also could help offices stay consistent on a busy day, right? So when you're busy, you're missing things. And if you use some AI tools, and it could be as simple as a chat bot on your website that's answering very simple questions, or an FAQ that's been trained on your real information, or it could be as sophisticated as call analysis. I'll talk about that later. But there's so many ways that sales and communication could be influenced. And now, before I move on to the next set of ideas, panelists, do you guys have any ideas that you'd like to add? I don't know if Nick or Noah, you guys want to add anything to this part?
Yeah, so I want to reinforce that it isn't all AI. Like, AI isn't for everything. Automation can be for just about everything. And the automation tools that we have available to us now mean that the amount of time required to get to a script or a solution that does some work in a recurring fashion is so much faster now. The cycle time on iteration on that is so much more effective. even though we're using these intelligent tools that we have available to us, they allow us to build systems and programs and scripts and whatever to do our jobs better.
Yeah, and another, let's say a real practical example is, let's say a customer sends in 3 photos of vehicle year and model and kind of a vague request, and they email that or they say that over the phone, right? And they just send in some stuff. AI could help you turn that information into a very clean summary for the office. Or what Nick can show you is it actually leads into visualization of what they want. AI could draft a first response for a lift kit, a wrap, tint, wheels, PPF, leads, so the team is not waiting from scratch, writing everything from scratch every time. And AI could summarize the customer needs before a call, so the person answering already knows the basics. And yes, Nick, thank you for sharing. What are you going to show us?
Yeah, so it looks like I'm sharing my whole screen, but I'm having issues sharing the right thing. Right now, it looks like you guys see a Tacoma up, right?
Yeah, we see a red Tacoma, the bronze black details with the seat sitting out there in the...
Yeah, let me see if I can switch this up here. That is something I want to show, but not quite yet. All right, entire screen. Okay, here we go. So back to the automated responses or AI generated responses. Right now I have Chat GPT up, and I wanted to show a quick instance where you can use AI to give a polished Google review reply. A lot of times when we receive a bad review, which has never actually happened here at Automotive Concepts, but if it did, I would use AI to generate that. Currently there's a lot of tools that will automate this process for you, and you can certainly rely on those, especially for positive reviews. But sometimes you want to address the negative ones more thoroughly to give your customer confidence that you guys as a shop are willing to correct issues that come up. So what I've done here is I took a fake 2-star review that someone received and I populated...
It's a hypothetical bad review that some shop somewhere might have received, right?
Yeah. And what I did was I just gave Chat GPT a very simple prompt on how to reply. What I said was, write a Google review response to this 2-star review that gives future customers the confidence that we resolve matters professionally. Ask any questions needed to answer the reply confidently. And this is the review here. It's basically a customer that called in and asked about aftermarket fenders and bumpers, was told that we might be able to help, but depending on what needed to be done, we may or may not offer those services. It seems like the conversation dropped short. I think they were expecting a little more out of that conversation, but as you guys know, we can have busy days and sometimes customers have very high expectations. So what I did was I had it draft a reply, but before that, per my prompt, I asked it to ask any questions that would help AI generate a better, more accurate reply. So you can see they asked these questions. Did you identify who took the call? Would you genuinely like to invite that reviewer back for a consultation or vehicle evaluation? And is there a specific person they should contact if they do reach back out? And then also, how do you want the tone to be? So this is an important one. So AI asked, do you want it to be more apologetic or customer service focused, or do you want it to explain it more explanatorial or factual, or a balance of both? So what I said was a balance of both. You can see right here are my replies. Took me 2 seconds to type those in, and boom, we have a nice, thorough reply to that review that gives our customers that expectation that we do handle these professionally. Sometimes if you get a bad review, it's not about how you misservice them to start with, but how you deal with the situation that will give that customer the confidence. So we want to make sure that every customer sees us proactively addressing these issues, even if we do get a bad review, because that shows them if they do experience something that we will resolve it. So again, this took maybe a couple minutes versus having to draft this all out by hand. You have to put a lot of thought into it. You have to talk to a lot of people at your shop to figure out what happened. This gives a very polished review without sounding too apologetic, but it addresses the concerns. This wasn't a terrible review. You just want to manage the expectation with customers and make sure that they have the confidence to buy from you. So that's my first example of how to use that.
Can I add something to that, Nick?
Yeah.
So you did a really good job of showing like the exact thought process of I need this information to get this kind of output. get these questions. And I'm not sure if you're going to go into this later, but that's something that you can then put into, in ChatGPT, you'd put it into a project and give those projects certain instructions. Have a project for negative reviews where you give it those instructions like, I'm going to paste in a negative review. I want you to ask me questions to get more information. Here's our background information. You can put in documents and all that stuff, so that you should get to the point where you just have to paste in the negative review and it will know all this. You want all this information, what format you want it in, and spit it out. So you have a final version even quicker. So it's stuff that you can continually work on and fine tune so that exactly what you need a prompt to get the result you want.
That's a good point. These are learning tools. So the more you work with it and the more you segment your projects within here, the better AI will be at addressing your issues and knowing how you want to reply to your customers.
I love it, guys. Great. This is a really good practical thing that anybody could do. You could probably do this in Gemini, Claude. There's other tools in our CRM. We have some built-in response tools like this, but there's so many different options. And what's great about it is the methodology doesn't change. It doesn't matter which tool you use, although ChatGPT is a great one. What Nick showed, the key was the questions, and what Grant pointed out is you could start putting this together as a routine project. They also have custom GPTs, but I think a project would be better, like Grant said, because you could create a folder and you could put in the standard information that you want it to have in the FAQs. And then when you get to the point where it's smart enough just to figure out what you want pretty fast, and then you could have these quickly. One thing I want to add to this is if you're on this webinar or you're watching this or watching the recording and you're thinking, why would I bother? I just don't reply to my reviews. And that's a mistake. So you really need to reply to every single review, both good and bad. It's very important from the customer point of view, but it's also important for SEO and for Google. You will do better if you're interactive with your Google business profile. And that applies to pretty much any kind of review you get. That was a really good one, Nick. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one. And then I'm sure we're going to have even more cool examples. So I'll dive right back in here. Okay, so the next set of things, and this is related, is marketing, follow-up, and revenue support stuff. And here's some ideas. So idea 4, you could turn one install, okay, like you have an example of what you did. You could captions, emails, blog ideas, short video scripts, and ad copy. So you could write up some things and then use AI to help extend that. We do that a lot in marketing. You could also use it to learn, like Grant talked about, creating projects for your future jobs. You can create better review asks, referral asks, post-install follow-up messages. So for example, let's say after every job, you want to ask for a review, but you could come up with AI could help you come up with a series of scripts, and that could be automated too. You could have different messages that go out that create different ways of asking for not just a review, but a referral. Right. So that would be another one you could do. Any post-install follow-up messages AI could help. And then another one would be suggesting logical upsells. This is a big one that I'd love to see us get more into in the industry, or related packages based on the original job, or even before they're done with their project. So let's say the sales team, like they come in for spray and bed liner. Before they leave, you want to get them a lift kit, right? Or they come in for window tint, you want to also sell PPF. I think AI could help with automation to be asking questions in a way with either text or email, or even reminders to the sales team, like, hey, don't forget, you have to ask, do you want fries with that? All right, let's just you go to McDonald's, you go to fast food, you get the burger. They used to do this all the time. I don't even know if they do it anymore. I haven't been to McDonald's in a while, but they used to ask, do you want fries with that, for many years? And that increased revenue substantially. That's the kind of thing AI can help you think creatively around. And a lot of shops have more content opportunities than they have the time to use them. So you have all this content that you could get, but it's like, what do we do with all this stuff? And the AI can help you sort it, sift it. We have a system right now where we're getting AI to help when a client sends us photos or videos. We have a system where the AI can help label all of them, so that you don't just have a big old folder full of photos that nobody ever can use because they have to sort through them for a while. You could label it and have it figure out exactly what that is and what it's going to be used for. Another reason it matters is consistent follow-up is going to improve reviews. It's going to get more referrals and repeat business. And another reason all this stuff matters is relevant upsells increase your average ticket without feeling forced. And what I mean by that is AI could help come up with the ways and the messaging to help make it be more logical. If somebody comes in for one service, what's the most logical service that they need next, that they could maybe come back and bring their vehicle back another time, or maybe have done while they're there. So those are the types of things that it can help support in marketing. Do you guys have any other examples here? And I know we're getting to the point, we're almost to the point, Nick, where I'm going to have you share the cool
That's
stuff.
what I was going to say. I have some good things that follow up on that to show, but yeah, anybody else first?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to hammer home the value of the follow-up process. It's just so often the case that when somebody comes through, you may not have the time right then and there to see to their needs. Having these auto-responding tools that intelligently follow up are capable of answering basic FAQ style questions about what it is that the client's looking for. These tools are available and getting better and better every week. So the more that you go through that process, the more people are going to A, expect it, and B, the better your results are going to be.
Yeah. I'd be curious in the chat, if you're on this call, let me know in the chat if you're using AI to help at all with marketing. And what I mean by it could be as simple as it writes your social posts for you, or you had it create an image for your Facebook or Instagram page, or you did anything like what I'm talking about where it generated maybe a good email that you would send out to clients. Is anybody using it for any of those even basic things? Write in the chat yes, or just a little quick message in there. I'd love to see if you're using it for anything like that. Mark says writing social posts, clean up images, starting to prepare Klaviyo campaign. Cool. Okay. Got it in the CRM a bit too. Jonathan, yes, ChatGPT is my friend. Corey, cleaning up emails and social media posts. Yes. And then you actually, ironically, then had to write clean to clean the word clean. I love that. That's great. Perfect. Thank you. I love it. Awesome. Okay, good. Yeah. So some of you are doing some things in there. That's great. Just for time, I'm going to keep moving, and there's going to be some more good examples here that we can share in a minute. A few more ideas. Now, moving into the operations, SOPs, and internal clarity. And I might have Noah and Grant kind of take over. And Grant, we might have you show your mind-blowing stuff here. But the first basic idea I want to share, and yes, Ralph, thank you. Social posts, finding part numbers and applications quickly. That is cool. And then Josh Polson with the contracts. That's a great one too. Great. Okay. So you guys are at least toying with it, which is fantastic. So this one, we call it number 7 is turning tribal knowledge. Funny way of saying all that experience you have or your key people into SOPs, checklists, and training docs. I can give a quick example of this. It's a little different in my digital world because we can record ourselves on screen a lot versus in the shop, walking around trying to show like video and installer doing his job, although that could be done too. But people that have routine tasks, what we do is we have a playbook. We call them playbooks, and we have a core process. So we define what is the job, what's the job function, what are the key roles and responsibilities, and that is a term, we call it an accountability chart. It comes from a program called Entrepreneurial Operating System, or EOS. So we create this accountability chart, which is like your org chart. And we have their core function, roles, and responsibilities for every job. And then what we do is we help them to document their own job. And they document what they do every day, how they do it, what are the details that go into that. And it starts rough and then it gets refined over time. And eventually you've documented a list on paper or on a computer. Here's all the things that you do on a routine basis. Here's the things that you do daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, et cetera. Here's how to do this job. Here are the best practices. Sometimes that knowledge could come from your manufacturer, it could come from other places, but the point is you're putting it together. That's a lot of information and it's hard to get down, right? So what we use AI to is we'll have a meeting with somebody and we'll just talk through it. Like I'll say, Noah, tell me about what you're doing today and how you do it. And I'll interview Noah. And Noah's going to give me everything that he does and how, and I'm going to ask lots of questions like, wait a minute, when you go into this part of that job and this happens, what do you do then? And what happens here? And then we just have a conversation about it. And then we record all that and we transcribe it. And then you could give that to ChatGPT and say, ChatGPT, turn this into an SOP. turn this into a checklist and help me write my playbook. And you'd be amazed at how much better it becomes, right? Because now you've got the person who's doing that job actually giving all that detail. You could do this with your bookkeeper. You could do this with your installers. You could do this with everybody, and they don't have to necessarily get it perfect the first time, because you could do a version 2 and 3, or if it's a lot of work, you could make it, it could take a few months, who knows, right? But at the end of the day, you have this beautiful employee manual. Now, when you lose that person someday, because everyone will leave us at some point, now the next person you hire, you go, look, I got the whole manual, and it's exactly how to do the job. And we've already got it down pat. So I love that use of AI because it can help summarize it, organize it, edit it. That's my favorite version of this. And then number 8, which is closely related, is summarizing your team meetings. Of course, you would have to get them recorded. Not every meeting is appropriate to be recorded, but some you could. And by the way, you don't have to do a meeting like this. I've actually taken my phone and I've turned on the voice memo on my iPhone, and I've sat and said, would you mind if we recorded this one? Because I want to make sure that we get all the notes down. And I might also have handwritten notes. And then at the end of that, I will take that recording, and you can just give the recording to ChatGPT or another AI. It'll turn it into a transcript for you and analyze it as if you had done a Zoom call and recorded it. It's pretty cool, as long as you get permission, of course, and it's appropriate. But that's a really good way to track and use AI to quickly summarize the meeting, come up with the action items, the bullet points, but more importantly, documenting for the future. Right? That's my favorite thing, is when you want to standardize your systems and processes, because we all lose a lot of time when that key knowledge stays in only one person's head, right? You're like, only one person knows how to do that. But what if they're sick? What if they go on vacation? What if somebody else has to fill in for them? You don't want your front desk person brand new to be useless to you. If they're brand new, they should already have this already, and AI could help you do it, which is cool. SOPs help new team members ramp faster, reduce repeated mistakes, and then meeting summaries improve follow-up and accountability. With that, I would love to hear from the rest of the team here, Grant, Noah, or even Nick, if you guys have anything on this topic. And then Grant, if you want to share what you're doing, just totally another level.
Yeah, sure. Blurb first before Grant gets into it.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to mention that the transcript, reading a transcript and sending it to AI to output content or material is super beneficial. I've used that as well on doing a technician spotlight for one of our techs. I did a quick chat GPT asking to put together some interview questions for a tech highlight, and it put out 25 questions. I asked those questions to our technician, kind of interview format, but I recorded it with a transcript. I sent that audio file into chat and had it write an interesting article based on the content that within that audio recording. And right off the bat, it just put together a super engaging, interesting article that I could highlight one of our technicians on social media, and it put together a really good post highlighting his experience, different projects he's worked on, what his favorite part of working at Automotive Concepts is. And so very beneficial key point there, Jesse. Thanks.
That's awesome. Great example.
As far as SOPs go, that's how I started getting into AI and started using it pretty heavily. We're not an AI company, we're a manufacturer. So we manufacture chrome delete overlays for mostly trucks. And because we manufacture things in the States, we've had to develop the process from the ground up. So there aren't standard SOPs or even instructions of how to run the machines that we use or anything like that. All that knowledge doesn't exist anywhere that we can access it. Most of this stuff is done overseas. So because we've had to create those processes from the ground up, the tribal knowledge is extremely strong, where that's basically what's held together the company for all these years, is that we have very particular ways of doing things. And so when a person would leave or when we'd have to train a new person, it would take a long time to get these people trained on our processes and to be able to get them effective. And essentially the effect of that is that would take a lot of my time. So I'd be the one who would have to train someone on how to run the vacuum former or a CNC machine, like processes that I've had to learn and have a lot of knowledge in, but I'd be spending my time actually helping the operators run it, which isn't what I'm supposed to be doing, but it's where I spent probably at least half my day, was troubleshooting and doing stuff like that. So I turned to AI just for dictation, mainly because AI is really good at summarizing scattered thoughts and putting them in an organized way, and you can have it create SOPs for you. So I started doing that, and then that developed into creating new SOPs and improving on those processes and making sure those processes were available to everyone. So right now we have a network of, they're called gems in Gemini. They're essentially ChatGPT. They're the same thing as ChatGPT projects, where they'll have the siloed knowledge of whoever is the expert in whatever area. So whether that's like how to operate or run a thermoformer, what you do if you see this problem come up, the operator can go into the gem and just ask that question. Okay, here's what I'm seeing on this mold. What should I do to fix this? And that's not something that you can just ask to a chatbot. If you just ask how to fix like a gas trap or a chill mark on a chatbot, it's going to give you a super generic answer. So that knowledge is really important to get recorded. And there's so much of that kind of like duct tape that's holding all of our businesses together that we just don't even think about. So once you start to go through these processes, you're going to realize how much of just tribal knowledge is holding the whole operation together. And it's scary. It's really scary. And so to get all that stuff down, first of all, that takes the cognitive load off of you as the business owner. You shouldn't be spending your time duct taping areas of your business to make sure that they function. Like that stuff should be the least of your concerns. You're worried about growing your business and doing new things, not just trying to keep the wheels turning.
Hey, Grant.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is awesome. Just quick tool check-in. You mentioned Google Gemini and Gems, which is their little projects or customs. Do you use Notebook LM, the Google's other?
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to share your screen. You don't have to on that, but I just wanted to check on that part. And if you could also show your big project.
Do you still have the link? I have the link to it. I can put that in the chat.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. If you could get the link, and then I'll share it for you and you can just talk through it.
All right. Yeah, I'll talk.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'll go ahead and send that. So we do use Notebook LM. If you don't know what Notebook LM is, it's called grounded knowledge. So essentially, large language models will have access to the internet. So they'll search a bunch of things for answers for you. When you use grounded knowledge, you're using your actual internal company's knowledge. So that makes sure that the AI doesn't hallucinate or tell your operators or your technicians something that is generically correct, but not correct for how you do it. So you can tie especially Notebook LM into Gemini, into your different gems to have it access that instead of, again, just general knowledge. So it's a little bit more like fine tuning. So grounded knowledge is actually a huge part of how you make sure that the processes stay the way that you intended them to be.
Great. And now this on the screen here, this is your own custom build. Let's transition into this and explain this for everybody.
Okay. Part of going through the SOPs and everything made me realize the different ways I was spending my time and where I had actual tribal knowledge that I needed to distribute. One of my biggest frustrations for years has been palletizing parts, because our overlays are a bunch of different sizes and configurations, and we have different overlays for tons of different trucks. When we have a customer order a pallet of parts, they're not ordering a pallet of 100 widgets of all the same size. There could be 20 different sizes of boxes. So organizing boxes on a pallet in a way that's efficient to send out to a customer actually takes a lot of thought. And so I found myself, even after I'd written SOPs and all this stuff, best practices, I found myself walking through the shipping area, going to do something else, and getting so frustrated seeing people unstack and restack pallets and it taking 2 hours to get a pallet stacked. And so what I did is I worked with Gemini and a couple different AI tools to create essentially software that's specific for our company to lay out how how pallets are supposed to be palletized with the different boxes. So you can go ahead and hit play on that. So this is the main screen here. This is where we'd input our SO document from, so the order that we have, or we can have it draw straight from our ERP. Up in the corner there, this is our product library where we have all our SKUs and the different box sizes associated with each SKU, their weights, and then standard pallet sizes. And then this is any constraints that we want to have with our pallets, like height, stuff like that. So here in this demonstration, I'm going to upload a standard PO that we shipped out a couple of weeks ago. Okay, the document's going to populate here. And then It's going to run the data. So now the AI is looking through the data and pulling out the SKUs and the number of that particular SKU that's on each pallet. So now you'll see that here. So it has the quantity of each SKU that we're shipping. And then up in the top bar, it's whether it's going to, each part's going to be boxed individually, or we're going to put multiple parts in the same box. So a lot of these are boxed individually. So we're going to go ahead and optimize that. And so now the AI is thinking about what is the best pallet size out of our pallet library to put this on. And so it recommends the best one. You can choose a different size. So then we just approve the size that we're going to use of pallet. And then it generates the 3D build of the pallet.
This is where my brain was exploding when he showed me this. I have to pause here for a sec. Grant, you weren't a software engineer.
No, it's just, my brother is, and I am not. We think completely differently. I'm more focused on the solution, like how do I solve the problem? And so that's all the mindset you really have to have. You have to have the knowledge of how to solve it. And then you can build it using these AI tools. So you can see in the app right now, it's showing you, it shows the person who's packing the pallet exactly where to put every box. I've uploaded the physics of how I build pallets, like how much overhang it can have, where I'd stack the biggest boxes, how I'd lay them out. So you have to just upload all that knowledge into the build. So it has to know how you do it. You can't just say, build me this and it'll create it. And then just ending up here, this is the cherry on top. So it'll give you the final build that you can just print off and send to your customer that will have what SKU is loaded on each pallet, how much each pallet weighs, and the weight and everything like that. So again, this stuff it's not as advanced as you'd think. It still takes a lot of time. I probably spent 3 days working on that app, but that's after I tested it a lot and worked with language models a lot, so I understood what their outputs are. But that's stuff that's possible. So if you have a specific problem that you need to solve that software could solve, and you just can't find software out there, or the software that is out there is too generic and doesn't solve the problem that you want it to solve, it's possible to use AI to just basically build the software you want from scratch and have it interact exactly the way that you want it, that you would want it to interact.
That was awesome. I just think that is amazing. I was joking with him. We did a little rehearsal, and I said, now that you invented this, you can get out of get out of manufacturing, get into just sell the software and become a billionaire or something, right?
Yeah, just put in my
So
2
how many
weeks,
people would find use of that? I think for everybody here, though, one takeaway that even if you aren't going to create the palletizer yourself, think about something in your own business that you wish was more organized or easy. It's not about being a software developer. Grant admitted he's got a very logical, analytical mind, but all of us have the ability to think through problems and solve problems. If you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, you're basically an entrepreneur. You have to be a problem solver. And so we do that all day long anyway. So the lesson here is think about something that you really want to solve, and AI might be a way for you to solve it. That's what's cool. And I love that example. The 3D picture really blew my mind too. I couldn't believe that. I was like, wow. We're all used to ChatGPT, but not that kind of stuff.
I should mention that, Grant, correct me if I'm wrong, most of the software development is all done via text prompts to the AI tool. And when it generates the initial code or the initial system, you can then go and provide iterative updates and corrections just by typing text in. You need very little of that developer mindset. It's more about, like Jesse said, being analytical and knowing what you want out of the tool to prompt it how to do it better or fix a correction.
Yeah, no, exactly. You don't need to know how to code. I took coding in high school. I haven't touched it since. So you really don't need to know any of that stuff. You need to know the solution that you're looking for and how you solve the problem, and basically be able to teach it in natural language.
That's great. Any other comments, Noah or Nick, on this one? The next one is similar. It's the usable shop knowledge base. We already talked about this, but just thinking about how you could use it to help you put together the products and packages, give you new ideas of bundles, just organizing your vendor and manufacturer info, your policies, your warranty, warranty question answers, common customer questions, install notes, team standards, internal guidance, just documenting all these things, right? Frequently used scripts for service, sales, and follow-up. And basically just thinking of all of the information you have, how could you organize it better and easier? Yeah, so that was, I don't know if you guys have any other comments on that, but we'll move on to the next one, which is the visualizer stuff. Anything else on this topic? No,
I think that's it for now.
Okay. I will give you guys one thing that I did that I thought was worth showing really quickly here. I mentioned earlier playbooks, and I'm going off script here, guys, but I just felt like, I want to show an example of that instead of just talk about it. So I'm going to share my screen, a different page. You might have a better way of doing this than me, but I created a digital doc. It's just a Google Doc. This was basically created with ChatGPT and a Google Doc and a little bit of Gemini. And now it even has, Gemini has a little thing where you click here and you can ask it questions over on the side. So it wasn't fancy software. And what I did is I wrote basically an outline of this job. And so the job is for digital advertising, and what's the core purpose of the role, the 5 core job functions, what are they doing? And it's just a simple way of describing it. And then I did a playbook. And so we have an overall overview here where there's a picture of the steps that they do. And there's a Loom video that I added to it to show the person to walk somebody through the job. And these are the basic main pillars that they do in their role. And these are it's like milestones. If you're running a marathon and you have a little checkpoint. So this is number 1 is decide where to advertise. Number 2 is decide what to say. And I know that's tiny on your screen. Decide what to say, build and launch the campaign, optimize spend and performance, and then prove ROI and expand what works. And that's the process we follow. And then underneath it, it talks about all the little things that have to be done in there. And then it continues on to talking about what's the frequency of the work, what's the context, how long should it take for certain things, what tools are needed. And then going down, and I took each one of these and broke it down. Here's step 1. And then I got crazy and created a playbook within a playbook. I said, okay, that first milestone has to have different details about it. And so let's document that all here. Here's all the steps for what you do. And this is basically just a Google document that is basically their job. It's their entire job. And now when we go to a performance review, I can say, hey, how are you doing on step 2 of your role? It looks like you forgot a step and we need to do some training around it, not to get somebody fired, but to help them get better, right? That's always the goal. So I wanted to share that really quick. And I love that. I do that. We've been doing that for everything in the company, and we're starting to see a lot of progress with that. So much to Noah's chagrin, I probably should have talked to him more about some of those instead of making them myself. But anyway, we've worked together on a lot of stuff too.
Alas.
Yeah. Okay, the next one is really exciting. We're going to turn it over to Nick to show some really cool real world examples. But basically the types of things here is to use AI as a visualizer tool. And everybody sees the text outputs from ChatGPT and Gemini, but what about pictures and video? So you can show what a vehicle could look like with a wrap, color change, a PPF finish, wheels, graphics, lighting, or accessories. You could use concept images to help customers picture the outcome before they buy. You could speed up the sales conversation and your internal brainstorming with kind of visual mock-ups. You could use it as a concept and communication tool, not as a fake final proof, but like just concept, right? So this is easy to illustrate things for customers. A lot of people don't have an imagination. They might not know what they want because they don't know what's available to them, or they go, I wonder what this would look like if we changed the color. But you can show them the whole what's possible, which also leads to more upsells. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Nick. I think this would be a great time for you to share.
All right. So let's say a customer contacts you guys and says, hey, this is my 2011 FJ Cruiser. This customer just happens to be my wife, but this is her FJ Cruiser. And she recently saw a Facebook reel of this retro, I think it's a Tacoma, old school Tacoma or something. She said, my vehicle's blue, it has a white roof. I want these graphics on my vehicle. Is that possible? I said, sure it is. That's right up our alley. You know that. And so what I did is I took it into, instead of spending hours generating this in Photoshop, like I definitely could, I have a lot of history there. It's actually how I got into where I'm at today, is doing vehicle renderings and all that. But within a minute, chat was able to generate this, an exact replica of that vinyl graphics set on her FJ Cruiser, and even got the wheel details too from that vehicle. Now you notice there is a odd issue here. It didn't turn this A-pillar white, so I just said make the A-pillar white, and boom, with another 20 seconds it generated a new image. And so your salespeople could be, if they aren't already, be using this as a tool to show customers live what their vehicle would look like, and that's a huge value add for your team. I don't think there's many restylers out there that are doing this. So imagine the competitive advantage if your team can show that customer exactly what they're looking for right in the moment. How many more sales would you generate by doing that? The next one here.
Really cool, by the way. And I just want to point out, just to make sure for beginners, you literally just put the picture in ChatGPT.
Yep.
You put those 3 pictures in there and started talking to it.
Yep.
You didn't have to do any fancy work here at all, right?
Exactly. Apply this paint design to this FJ Cruiser and make the wheels white.
That's simple.
Simple text. This literally took 2 minutes to generate, so you could do that live in front of a customer.
And ChatGPT wasn't able to do that about a year ago, just so everybody knows. I used to try to mess with it when it was early. It was horrible. But the recent upgrades now, it's a lot better at image rendering. Gemini, I know, Grant, you were using Gemini for that because it was a little quicker at that, but now they both do it pretty well.
And I've bounced back and forth between the two a lot. And I would say both of them are at this level now. So if you've tried it before and you didn't have good luck with it, things are changing progressively. And now it's very consistent. It can knock these out very quickly, very easily, and with high accuracy. So the next one I want to show is a very common example. We get at least five leads a day for people asking for vehicle wraps. How cool it'd be if your team could show that person exactly what a color would look like on their exact vehicle. So all you would need is one photo showing the vinyl color that the customer is interested in. I pulled this one from Metro Restyling, one of our vinyl vendors, that has awesome photos of not only the swatches of each vinyl, but the vinyl applied to each vehicle or to many vehicles. So you can grab either that swatch or a photo of it applied to a vehicle and say, change the paint color of this Tacoma to the attached vinyl color. And then you can give it the name, KPMF matte purple black iridescent. And what that does is it just gives it chat a little bit more knowledge so it can go seek other images if necessary. This was a simple prompt. I'll show you in a second how you can give it a more advanced prompt, because you can notice that color wasn't 100% accurate to what was shown here, but with quick iteration or another quick prompt, it can spit out a very accurate preview of what that looked like. I just said add a little more contrast to the vinyl like the original photo, and boom, that Tacoma, that exact Tacoma with those wheels and that chase rack and that snorkel are now the exact color that customer wanted. To achieve better results the first time, I wanted to show another version of that. And what I did was I took that same prompt, but in front of that and without the images, I said improve this prompt. And then I pasted the same prompt. And now what you can do is you can copy this prompt, read through it quick, make sure it matches what you're wanting it to do. But now you're giving, in the same amount of time, you're giving chat a lot better idea of what you want the end results to be. So with that prompt.
And I want to pause right there. This is really important. This is why I have these guys on this webinar. It's not because they have a bunch of coding experience. This is what I want everybody to understand. It's just a thinking process. It's like Nick you had to pause and think, I want a better output. So how do I get that? I need to give it better instructions. How do I give it better instructions? How about I ask it how to give it better instructions?
Exactly.
It's logic. It's all about logic. Can you think, I want it to work better? So what Nick did is he told it, I need you to help me to help you, Jerry Maguire. Show me the money, but help me help you. And it said we would need to write it this way. So that's a step that a lot of people don't think of, because you're like, in our regular world, when I go to somebody on my team, I don't want to have to think for them. But you have to think of ChatGPT as the most brilliant intern on the planet, but it's just an intern. So would you put the intern in charge of your whole company? No. But you would give them very specific instructions. And then if they're college educated, really smart, they're going to do it. And that's basically what Nick did here, right? And that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
Exactly. You can see that it added things like preserve all vehicle body lines, reflection, shadows, panel gaps, trim, wheels, and proportions. The finish should have a true satin matte appearance with a distinctive color shifting effect of that matte purple to black iridescent film transitioning between deep black. So you can see it's not only giving it images, but it's also prescribing how the vinyl looks so it can achieve a better result. And that initial result was very accurate. It's not out in the sun like this one. It's more of in a studio setting. So it even applied the ambient lighting effects to that based on the location of the vehicle. And then let's say you want to take it a step further. The customer says, yep, that's the purple. I want that. What about wheels? So you might go through, offer some wheels. I pulled this from this image of a fuel charger. I always think it works better to have a real photo than a stock photo from fuel.com or fuelwheels.com. So I grabbed a real world image. It had a logo, but it doesn't even matter. You'll see I just told it place these wheels on the truck, and boom, you have that wrap with those wheels. Is it 100%? No, but you could get there, but the customer isn't seeking that 100%. They just want a good idea of what that vehicle is going to look like. You've done that now within a couple minutes. I really think these tools will help you guys convert more leads. And I wanted to show I'll show one more example of how I didn't use it on the sales side, but more on the marketing side.
This is great. Can you also show us the Photoshop stuff really quick too?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So this was a build that we just finished, a Toyota Tacoma for the Twin Cities Auto Show. And we were going to take it to the next event, which was a sportsman show. So we wanted to advertise that show, let people know that we're going to be attending, but how to better attract that customer demographic than to put that vehicle in the right setting that will grab their attention. So what I said was I just uploaded the photo of the vehicle that I took, and I said, change the setting of this truck to a picturesque sunny fall pheasant hunting scene with two hunters walking away into a field with their hunting dog. So you can see it did that. And I had to make a quick edit, make another one where the whole truck is visible. The hunters are walking away just as a background element. So you can see it spit out this. And this, I can't stress enough, this would have taken me a day to Photoshop in a photorealistic setting like this. The lighting, the shadowing, it's changed the lighting on the vehicle and the reflections to better suit the surroundings. And then I did the same thing for a fishing scene. And then I created a post here, and I'll show you that post. I said the second annual Sportsman Show starts around noon today, and I made a post about this vehicle with supporting images. But here's these two images. I also added dog kennels because we actually bought these kennels locally and had them on display at the show in the bed exactly like this. So I added those using AI, and I did one for a fishing scene. So these images just help connect you with your audience. And I thought that was another good way to show you guys how to use this tool if you're not already. I think there was one more. Oh yeah, there's one more tool, and then I'll jump over very quickly. This one's very simple. I just took a build list of this Tacoma. Oops. Okay. That Tacoma there. This is another rendering I used AI to generate, but I also Photoshopped in a seat that I designed through CatSkin, and now I'm making a social post about it. I put in the build list, which is all right here. And I said, write an engaging social post about this 2026 Tacoma SR5 build that we just finished at Automotive Concepts. And within a matter of seconds, it spits out a really polished social description of this vehicle. It's interesting, and it also adds some related hashtags as well to get you out there in front of those Toyota customers. The next thing Jesse asked me to cover, let's go over here. So I have a long history in Photoshop. I think I've been in Photoshop since version 3, which is 20 or 30 versions ago. I probably started when I was 14 or so. But I wanted to show you now how easy some of the AI tools in Photoshop that make my job a lot easier. This is more on the advanced side, but you'll notice that software is now embedding AI tools just to simplify everybody's job. And a couple that I'll show you here. A manual process of selecting this vehicle and extracting it from the background may have taken me 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how intricate the vehicle is. They have a AI selection tool right now where you just go to select and then subject, and it'll take a few seconds to load. Now, if I zoom in, you can see this dotted outline that it's created. I can now copy and paste that onto a new layer. And look how detailed that extraction is. Like I said, the time that this would have taken me, 10 to 15 minutes, and how often I do this, it's a huge time saver. Now, let's say you want to put this image in a new scene. So I have this image that I pulled offline, but let's say I wasn't able to find a high resolution image. You can see if I zoom in, not the best clarity with these bushes. My original photo is super high resolution. Another tool within Photoshop is a generative upscale tool. So if I just click this, there's a couple different AI models you can choose. I've had really good luck with Topaz Gigapixel here. And so I'll just do, okay, I want this image to be 4x the size. Now this part of my job in the past would be impossible. There's no way I could generate these trees, all the level of detail in the grass in an upscaled version. Creating that, it would just not be possible. But now with the AI's access to all the photos online, it can literally sample grass and trees and other things from all the images across the web to create a better understanding of what that looks like in detail. And within a few seconds, now I have 4 times the pixel density, and you can zoom in and see all the details of these branches and the barn and everything. Now let's go back to this image where I crop the vehicle. I paste this in here, and let's say I place it where I want. Maybe I upscale this a little bit. And the third tool that I want to show is the harmonize tool. So I just click this button down here. And this one may take a little bit longer, but it's still very quick. I can tell you adding shadows and lighting to this level of detail would have been an enormous job.
It would have been a day of work.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Well, and what is Photoshop nowadays? 60 bucks, 70 bucks a month or something like that? Or
yeah, if it's just Adobe that you need or Photoshop that you need, it might be $20 to $30 a month. If you need the whole creative suite, it's 60 or 70. So,
yeah. And you don't have to be as good as it used to be. You used to have to go back to school for a PhD to use Photoshop. Now,
exactly.
if you know a couple of the buttons, it's doable now.
Yep, it's almost done here. But what you'll see is it's going to generate the lighting based on the surroundings. It's going to
Look at that.
shadowing. It's going to make it look like it's part of the original photo. And you'll also notice that it dimmed down the whites a lot. So you can always go in and polish that up with simple tools, but I could just pull this in to adjust the highlights and shadowing and stuff. But you can see within a few seconds, you have a real truck that you generated, no AI hallucinations. It's exactly as I took that photo, and I just placed it in a new background.
So cool.
Yeah.
Nick, that was awesome. Thank you for that. That was like a super fast tutorial.
Yeah, I tried to fly through it quick, but you can see how quick it really is. This would have taken me an entire day to do it before.
No, that is just awesome, man. We're almost done here. We got a few more things that we want to present, and then we'll be on our way. I'm going to show a couple screens this time real fast. So we have AI for a sales visibility and coaching tool. This is the last one I want to cover today, and we'll wrap up. This one's very important to me and Noah. You can use AI to summarize calls, notes, and follow-ups so you can see what's really happening with your staff. You can spot missed calls, slow responses, repeated objections, and handoff issues. You can turn all that scattered CRM activity into clear reports and pipeline visibility. You can help your managers or yourself coach your team with real examples and conversations. And you can also improve follow-up consistency and accountability without adding more manual work. So I really want, you need to understand the importance of how much money that you are wasting on it's like a bucket with holes in it. We always say, if you do marketing and sales, you're pouring holes in a bucket, but it has a lot of, you're pulling water in the bucket, but if it has a lot of holes, you're losing a lot. And that's a tough game, right? So what you want to do, you can do things like this. We have created this scorecard, and you could do your monthly lead volume, follow-up, failure rate, and average ticket value. This is all manual. And then we could have AI scan people's results on the phone and then actually give them a report card, a grade. And then you can approximate how much monthly revenue you're losing or how much money you could make if they were to improve the grade. So what's really cool about this is our custom dashboard that we made for our concierge program to start analyzing this. Every single call is recorded. Every single call is going to be analyzed. But what's really cool is you can get down to the specific level. So I'll pick on a couple people that we have in training here, our good friends. This is Josh in Brooklyn. And you can see Josh's performance in particular areas, like how is he good on opening and professionalism, How is he on clarity of purpose? He's doing pretty good. He's strong. Does he need a little bit of help on relevance and value positioning and discovery and question quality? Yes. Really good at listening and adaptability. Needs a little help on objection handling, call control, and direction and next step attempt. And so we can separate it by category and we can give them individual grades. It doesn't stop there. We could go further and give them a full-on report and then sit down and do a training. This is my favorite part. This to me is groundbreaking. I love it. I get excited about this. Now, this particular is not 1 or 2 phone calls. How long would it take you to go through your team and listen to 197 of their calls and analyze them? See, for years, I was always told, hey, if you want to do better in sales, you got to analyze the calls. But whoever does it, right? We're too busy, right? Your person at the front desk is just trying to keep their head above water. So this is where AI has really changed the game. It's going to keep an eye on all of those 197 calls that we did here in May. This is for this monthly report, and it's going to give them a score. And it's going to talk about the different kinds of calls they have, what's their target, how many were captured, the overall score for each one of them. And look at this, even a summary. How did Josh do? He had a solid baseline with stronger performance on follow-up and gatekeeper calls, improvement needed in discovery, value positioning, next step clarity. And then I can go down and break it down with him. I can sit down with Josh and say, look, here's what your targets, here's what your numbers were, here's your call quality, but it's going to get even better. Okay, it's vague up here, but now we can get into here's what you did well, and here's what you need to improve, exactly what you need to improve. And then I could go further and I could say, hey, here's your overall grade and why it's low, right? We're being harsh here, by the way. We're being really mean to him because in real life, he's probably doing pretty good, but we give him a D just to say, hey, we wanted you to get up to a B here, right? And we could go further by actually asking the AI, can you give us specific calls that we should listen to in order to use for training? We don't have that in this report, but you could add it. You could easily add that. Maybe out of 197 calls, we really just need to listen to 3 or 4. And we're going to take maybe one of them and use it for a training session. Hey, let's go over this call together and see what you might have said different. And if you don't have time to do that, the AI can even help you figure out what to tell them to do differently, right? So this is what I love about what we can do with AI now, and recommended coaching priorities. What are we going to do for each one of these things? So in this case, these are sales calls. So this might be something you used if you're doing a fleet outreach campaign, like you're trying to get your people to call on fleet opportunities, or maybe just the dealerships. How good are they on their dealership calls? Or it's all inbound. Maybe it's on the retail side and it's the person at the front desk and how friendly they are and how good they are at transferring calls and things like that. So it could totally be adapted to all those things. Pretty fun, if you ask me. I kind of like that stuff. And I think, Nick, you put something in the chat. You said you're available for questions and things like that.
If any of your marketing people or anybody else within your team wants to see more about how I showed those tools today and how they can use those tools to attract more customers or land more business, just let me know. I put my contact info there. Reach out to me anytime. But also I want to stress, I can't say more about how helpful auto style marketing and Jesse's team has been. I run marketing for 5 of John's companies, John Prosser. Automotive Concepts is one of them. And now we're bringing Jesse not only into Automotive Concepts, but to P&L Automotive. His team is super collaborative, super helpful. They've taken a lot of weight off my shoulders so I can do more of what I need to do, the larger scope projects. But the CRM that we're using, they do some of our social posts. I just have to say big thanks to Jesse for all the help that your team has provided.
I did not pay him to do that.
He did not want me to say that. But
I appreciate it, Nick. I really do. We're going to wrap up here just the last couple slides. And then this one is just don't forget the back office. We talked a little bit about it, but things like bookkeeping, I think that's the next thing to be automated. There's a lot of payment follow-up, collections, reminders, analyzing complaints or miscommunications and turning all those notes. So that's another area that we could talk about. And then, so I wanted to finish with this. Let's turn this into action. Okay, what's your 7-day pilot plan? So here's what I want everybody to do. Pick one area only. Don't overwhelm yourself. You might not want to go and take a Photoshop class yet, but maybe you want to use ChatGPT to change the PPF color on an F-150, right? Maybe you might not want to build the palletizer like Grant did, but maybe you're going to take and build some SOPs for your staff, right? Zoho agents. Have any of us done any Zoho agent work? That was a good question from Ralph. Ralph asks.
We were in Zoho for a while, but we didn't get into that. I found Zoho to be very cumbersome as far as the automations and how to set those up. That's when I switched over to Jesse and said, hey, we need something more simple. And so Jesse set us up on a CRM. But no, I didn't get to play with the Zoho agents. Jesse also has an AI agent that he's implemented in our business to answer after hours calls. And that's been hugely successful.
That's great. Yeah, there's a lot of tools out there. We build our CRM on top of High Level, which is underneath it, but we have a lot of our own custom stuff on there and we're building things. But Zoho is also decent software. And last couple things here. No, Ralph, you don't need to apologize. I wanted the question, so thank you. Use AI to support real workflow. Your team already does. Measure one thing. Okay. So you want to have a KPI. There's a lot of people that spend so much time on AI that they're actually spending so much that they're not getting the return. It's supposed to be saving you time. And it's supposed to be like making you money or saving you money. So at first though, and this is something that I know the other guys could chime in on, it might take some time, right? It took you guys a while to explore. Grant talked about taking that time to explore and learn. So you do have to put a little time in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if anybody else got caught into OpenClaw. I spent far too much time and far too much money trying to figure it out. Eventually we did get to a point where now we have almost a universal agent at this point that's capable of handling a lot of the different issues that we have inside of the company. But to start with, it's a huge investment. Sometimes you need to figure out what isn't going to work in order to figure out what is.
And at the end of the day, we want to keep what works, right? Improve what's messy, ignore what adds complexity without value. And if you launch 5 experiments at once, you might overwhelm yourself. So it's better to just pick one use case, test it for a week, and learn from actually using it in the real world. Quick plug on us. If you do happen to want help and you want to set up some structure and CRM type stuff, like Nick mentioned, we do AI consulting. We can help you implement some of these things into your business, or in some cases, we do it for you. And if that's something of interest, just let us know and we can talk to you about that. And then I'll leave you with this question. And then for those that are still on, maybe Nick and Grant and Noah can add some closing statements. But my question for you is, what is one area in your shop where AI could save time this month, or save money, or make you more money, right? Think about it. If you want to put something in the chat right now, whatever popped into your mind, I would love it. I would love it in the chat if you could just write, what's the one area that you think you want to work on? Maybe it's the marketing side. Maybe it's the SOPs. Maybe it's the communication or emails or invoicing. If there's something that you can add to the chat, we'd love to see it. Also, if you want to add any questions, this is a great time to do it. SOPs, thank you, Josh, or whoever's running the Restylers info email right now. Cool. And then while we're looking at questions there, do you guys have any, Nick, Grant, Noah, do you guys have any final comments that you want to add?
Yeah, so I would really want to caution everybody to just do one thing. Yeah. Don't do everything. You might find that you are really pulled in all sorts of different directions using these tools. One thing, focus on that one thing. From my perspective, I'm inside of ops. I spent all of my time inside of there. We went and built out some tools to help account for what our performance was, what we were doing. I could have spent a whole bunch of time trying to build out a ridiculous tool that would solve all of our problems. But instead, I just wanted to account for, okay, what's overdue? What's missing? Where are the gaps? Let's just work on that. And that's been enormously successful, actually. We've been able to deliver on our performance and make things a lot more effective.
Awesome. Thank you, Noah. Grant, how about you? Any last comments?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and throw my information in the chat as well. So if you want to reach out just to talk about, again, SOP creation and like more just reclaiming your time, like how can AI help you reclaim your time? One caution also is, as you try to implement things, there is the possibility you're going to get some pushback. I'd say the likelihood you're going to get some pushback. And so just be prepared for that. Make sure you introduce what you're doing in the correct way, which most of these tools, they're not designed to replace people. They're designed to enhance what you already have. So just make sure the communication on that's super tight, and expect some resistance. And especially after you implement things, there's going to be bugs, and talk about those things straight up. Hey, we're implementing new tools. There's going to be issues. I need your guys' help to help me make these things better. So again, and you're not too late to the party. We talked about at the beginning, like most people feel like they're ones and twos, like barely starting out at this stuff. That's totally fine. I think 90% of everybody's right where you guys are, and if you're going to start putting time in, now's the time to do it, because you weren't really getting left behind before, but these tools are improving so quickly. Like now, if you don't start using them, you will get left behind, and it's going to be a lot more obvious moving forward. So just what's been said on here, start with something. You want to start like basics. You want to start with a large language model like ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini. And it doesn't matter which one you pick. It really doesn't. If you're more comfortable with one than the other, just start with that. They all have pretty much the same rules, and you just got to get comfortable with how you prompt it, the information you need to feed it, what it's looking for as far as data and context. And that stuff is going to be your knowledge base that will help you create all this other stuff. So get really comfortable with speaking to a large language model. Myself, I spend probably 80% of my day in Gemini, either just feeding it data or bouncing ideas off of it or whatever. One last thing, just a little tool thing. Like if you want to reclaim your time super quick with almost no effort, you need to stop typing. You need to use dictation. So that's, most of the LLMs have dictation features. Those work pretty well. I'd recommend using something like Whisperflow, where basically anywhere that has a text bar, you can use dictation. So I don't type anymore, especially when you start trying to prompt LLMs. Having to type narrows, you organize things that you type. AI works way better when it's disorganized. It will organize it for you. So you need to let your thoughts flow. So dictating works way better. So download, again, Whisperflow or some sort of dictation app right now, right after this call. That'd be a super easy way to help you gain back 3 hours a week with no effort from you. Again, just little AI wins right off the bat is going to help you have exponential improvement and growth in your knowledge and abilities.
Grant, that is awesome. I forgot all about that. I love using the ChatGPT voice feature. I just talk to it, have a conversation, and then you're going to flow better and you're just going to top of mind. It's great. Grant Evans from Ecological American Made Truck Accessories. I think it's ecological.com, right?
Yeah.
And you put your contact information in the chat too. That'd be great.
Yeah. So if you don't carry our stuff, definitely carry our stuff. But
yeah,
but also I'm available to talk about AI stuff. I'm really weird about it. So that's what I spend all my time doing anyway. So go ahead and shoot me an email.
Here. And Nick, do you have any final things to say? And then how do we get a hold of you if we want to?
Yeah. So I would just stress, have fun with it. It's an incredibly powerful tool. You guys have already dabbled in it. Sounds like, just think creatively every day how you can use it further and just get those quick wins. You'll grow into using it for larger scope projects. But the more you use it, the more you'll realize other ways that you can use it too, and just piggyback off those. One person in the chat brought up finding part numbers. So if you're having a hard time finding a specific part number, just simply take a photo of the product, throw it in ChatGPT or Gemini or any of the others, and let it do the legwork for you. There's so many use cases for it. Just try to, instead of trying to figure it out the old-fashioned way, try to remember to bring AI into your daily use and problem solve with it before you exhaust yourself through other methods. 99% of the time, it's going to save you time and figure it out quicker for you.
Great. Thank you, guys. I want to thank both of you, Nick and Grant, for being here, and Noah and my team. Thank you guys so much for your time today. Hopefully you got a lot out of this. If you're still here, put a 1 in the chat if you learned something new or you got something out of it, or use the little emoticon things and give us a hand clap or something. If you got anything, that you're welcome, Jonathan. Really appreciate it. Awesome. If you'd like a follow-up and you think that there should be another one, we may do a follow-up maybe another month from now after the technology changes like crazy. We'll probably have new things for you, and just email us and let us know. Follow our Facebook page. We are on Facebook with Auto Style Marketing. We have a couple of groups. They're free groups you can join where we share new information on and whatnot. And other than that, everyone have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you guys for being on.
Thank you. See ya.
See you guys later.